Hello, football lovers, and welcome. In today's video, we're going to be looking at, something that sounds too good to be true for some. It's one of those football stories that isn't well known but actually happened. To set the scene, we have a footballer who had a career spanning over 20 years but actually never kicked a football. Yeah, you heard that right. Most of us may not know this story, but I assure you this will be one of the funniest and craziest football stories you'll ever hear. It has all from lies to fake identity to a gangster owner football team. So without further ado, let's dive into one of football's craziest story. This story is of a man named Carlos Kaiser, the greatest footballer never to have played football. It sounds weird even when I'm saying it. He played for 26 years, for 11 clubs, and didn't play a single game. For real, like he didn't even kick a ball in the pitch in his entire career. Talk about a glorified ball boy. This is the story of a man who faked being a footballer. Born in Brazil, his real name was actually Carlos Henrique Raposo, but he was later nicknamed Kaiser due to a purported resemblance to Franz Beckenbauer when he was young. Are you seriously kidding me? Although his friend Luis Marovic claims that the nickname stems from a resemblance to a bottle of Kaiser beer. Talk about the naming culture in Brazil. Kaiser lived life to the brim. He was everything from fixer to gigolo to party planner to gangster's pet. Most of all, he was football's finest conman. Basically, we're talking about the real life version of Catch Me If You Can.
The jump seat is open. It's been a while since I've done this.
Renato Gaucho, one of the finest Brazilian players of his generation, calls Kaiser the greatest footballer never to have played the football. He had a career spanning more than 2 decades. Yeah, you heard that right. During which he was associated with Rio de Janeiro's 4 biggest clubs: Flamengo, Fluminense, Botafogo, and Vasco da Gama, as well as a small stint in a local team, Bangu America, and a number of overseas teams. Yet, throughout his career, he went out of his way not to play football. His story is so astonishing that in 2015, a British company bought exclusive rights for a feature-length documentary, which included interviews with legends of Brazilian football such as Carlos Alberto, Zico, Junior, Bebeto, and Renato Gaucho, not to mention multiple audiences with Kaiser. Now, how exactly did he get away with not playing? And why didn't he play actually, you may ask? Kaiser wasn't actually a footballer. He just thought of venturing into it as a source of income. What a nut job. Well, basically his trick was to make friends with influential people. He would befriend powerful figures at each club, telling them about his impressive football CV. He would basically sweet talk his way to build a football profile of himself that didn't actually exist. Mind blowing, if you will ask me. He would approach journalists, players, and club owners, constructing a web of lies so elaborate that nobody could remember who actually vouched for him at the first place. Another biggest reason he got away with his lies was the unavailability of the internet at that time. So even if an investigation or cross-checking was done, it led to nowhere. Remembering a famous quote of his, "Life is marketing." And he told his stories with such infectious conviction that it was easy to be swept along. I wonder how he met his wife. Anyways, Bebeto, the World Cup winning striker of 1994, says, "His chat was so good that if you let him open his mouth, that would be it. He would charm you. You couldn't avoid it. That would be it. Diving deep, it only gets crazier. In training sessions, Kaiser usually faked muscle injuries that would keep him out for an indefinite period, during which he would hang around the club and become an unofficial morale specialist. He created a fun and unhappy, light-hearted mood, says Alexander Torres, the former Brazil international and son of Carlos Alberto. He would tell stories and he would get players dreaming. I think that's why everybody liked him so much. On the very few occasions that Kaiser trained, he had the rare ability to find himself in space of trouble. That space was usually as far away from the action as possible. Troubles like getting into fights with teammates or media or fans. In fact, one team became so frustrated with Kaiser's injury that they called him a witch doctor. Yeah, a witch doctor. Kaiser's situation rudely informed them that there are some things that even black magic cannot cure and sent him packing. Wow. He would do anything to avoid playing or win favor. He paid youth team members to tackle him in training so that he could fake injury, and gave watching spectators monies to sing his name when the club owner was around. Just when you are thinking this story won't get any weirder, well, buckle your seatbelts. Kaiser's famous and most dangerous scam occurred at Bangu, a small club in the west zone of Brazil, and a place that has the distinction of hosting the first football match ever played in Brazil. At the time, they were owned by Castor de Andrade, Brazil's illegal gambling kingpin. What? Castor, who was routinely described as the most dangerous man in Brazil and was great friends with FIFA president João Havelange. He was not a man to take things lightly. There was actually a case where he chased a referee around the pitch with a gun flapping in his back pocket as he attempted to engage the ref in urgent discourse regarding a minor issue in their interpretation of the laws of the game. Thinking, why would anyone officiate in a league where clubs are owned by drug lords and gangsters? Some courage, that is. Moving on, Castor signed Kaiser, prompting a newspaper headline, "Bangu has its king." That headline in fact became famous, and not only because of that, Kaiser showed it to everybody at every opportunity he had. When he first arrived, he had the usual injury problems. Castor loved him anyways because of his cheek, his charisma, his audacity, and his apparently endless access to beautiful women. Wow, such a lovely dude, you might ask. He loved Kaiser's personality so much that he wanted to see its manifestation on the pitch. One weekend, word reached Kaiser that Castor had sent an order for him to be on the bench the next match day. Kaiser, of course, panicked before being reassured by the coach that he would stay as a non-playing substitute. When match day arrived, Bangu had a dreadful start to the match and were soon 2-0 down. Castor then sent a message from the stands via a walkie-talkie that it was time to unleash the star signing, time to unleash the super sub mode. While warming up, Kaiser heard an opposing fan called him a long-haired faggot and used it as an excuse to start a scuffle with the away supporters. He was sent off before actually getting on the pitch, saved by the red card. Kaiser was then summoned to see Castor after the game, and you wouldn't in a million years guess what he said. "God has taken both my parents away, but gave me another father." He was talking about Castor in this instance, who they accused of being a crook. He explained, "So I lost it and went for them, but don't you worry because my contract is up in a week and I'll be off." Castor, of course, fell for his story. I mean, who wouldn't? And gave him a pay rise and a contract extension. Bravo, bravo. Kaiser used his status to chat up women. Sometimes he would show a grainy VHS of a namesake scoring brilliant or vital goals. He was almost in a grainy VHS himself when he went along to a porn audition. Yeah, to support his cousin and made such an impression that he nearly ended up in the film. Talk about a man with the weirdest talents. He ended up seeing his career ended by constant termination of contracts by various clubs. These days, Kaiser is in his 50s and works as a fitness trainer for women, but his legend still endures. He was without doubt the real king of Rio. And there you have it, folks. This is the story of football's greatest conman and player. Pun intended. Anyways, thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe for more interesting football content and also hit the notification icon to be alerted of our future videos. See ya!